The Last Lantern of Changan. Set during the fall of the Tang dynasty, 880 CE. No one remembers the ones who run through fire, only the ones who light it. The city was burning. Changan, once the jewel of the Tang dynasty, the pulse of poetry, power, and prosperity, was choking in black smoke. A city that had welcomed philosophers and traders from Persia, monks from India, and envoys from Byzantium now drowned in chaos, its gates broken by Huang Chao's rebel army. In the shadow of the crumbling palace walls, a boy knelt by a lantern. His name was Li Wei, 17 years old, a junior courier trained at the Imperial Academy of Scribal Arts. A boy of ink, not blood. But ink could spark wars. And tonight, it might end one. Wei's fingers trembled as he opened the sealed scroll in the dim light. The wax bore the imperial chrysanthemum. Only he and the recipient were meant to read it. But he had to know. If he was to risk his life crossing rebel-infested lands, he had to understand what he carried. He unrolled it. To General Zhou Feng at Luoyang. The emperor is prepared to surrender Changan. Burn the grain silos at dawn. Starve the rebels. Hold the Yellow River crossing at all costs. May heaven judge us kindly. Chancellor Pei Xiu. Wei swallowed. They were going to let Changan fall. The road of ashes. Wei wrapped the scroll in oilskin, slipped it beneath his tunic, and extinguished the lantern. A final puff of smoke coiled upward like the last breath of a dying dragon. In the stables, only one horse remained, a young gray mare with eyes too wide and hooves restless with fear. Her name was Mist. Wei had fed her since she was a foal. She knew his scent. When he mounted her, she didn't buck. As they galloped out through the south gate under moonlight, he saw bodies hanging from the red archways. Rebels and loyalists alike. No sides in death. Only silence. The road to Luoyang would take 3 days if he avoided rebel patrols. But he had a shortcut, known only to a few, a forgotten imperial post trail that passed through the Jade Forest, a place whispered about in cautionary poems. Mist's hooves struck sparks from the stone as they rode into the night. The Ghost Pavilion. On the second evening, rain lashed the trees. The Jade Forest bent and wept under the weight of storm and memory. Wei was soaked, the scroll tightly bound in a lacquer box against his chest. Then he saw it, an ancient way station, its eaves cracked, but still sheltering a shrine to Guanyin, the goddess of mercy. Inside, an old woman tended a dying fire. Her eyes were milky with cataracts, but her ears sharp. "You stink of smoke and secrets," she said. "I'm a courier," Wei replied, voice hoarse. "Changan has fallen." The woman poked the fire. So many cities fall, but the worst ones rise again. "Sit." He hesitated, then did. She poured him hot barley broth. "I've heard of you scribes. You memorize scrolls in case of capture. Is that true?" Wei nodded. "I remember everything I read." Her smile revealed 2 teeth. "Then don't forget this, some flames cleanse. Others consume. Know which kind you carry." He wanted to ask what she meant, but he fell asleep to the sound of rain hitting the roof like 1,000 tiny spears. By morning, she was gone. So was Mist. Only the scroll remained, resting against the shrine's incense burner. The River of Knives. Wei walked. For 2 days, he hiked barefoot across muddy trails, through bamboo groves where rebel banners hung from branches like crimson ghosts. His feet bled. Hunger clawed at his belly. But he dared not stop. At the Bridge of 10 Arches, he saw them, Huang Chao's men. 5 of them. Drunk. Laughing. Blocking the only crossing for miles. Beyond the river, Luoyang's banners fluttered. Wei could see salvation, and death. He looked at the scroll. Then he remembered the old woman's words. Some flames cleanse. Others consume. He stepped forward. Hold, a rebel shouted. Boy, what's that under your coat? Wei held up the lacquer box. A message from the emperor. For your general. They laughed. Another lie. One drew a sword. Hand it over, ink boy. Wei backed up to the edge of the bridge. If you kill me, the message dies too. He opened the box, unrolling part of the scroll so they could glimpse the imperial seal. Their laughter died. One leaned closer, squinting at the wax. Is it real? Wei ran. Across the bridge, the scroll clutched in his hand, rain in his eyes. Arrows whistled past him. One grazed his shoulder. Another struck a beam beside him. He didn't stop. A horn sounded from across the river. Luoyang troops. General Zhou's cavalry charged. Wei collapsed. The lantern moved. When Wei woke, he was in a tent smelling of incense and vinegar. A physician stitched his wound while muttering in an eastern dialect. Outside, armor clanked. The storm had passed. Then came a voice like bronze. Courier. You carried the message? General Zhou Fang stood tall and weathered, beard streaked with gray. He held the scroll like a blade. Wei nodded weakly. Zhou read it. Frowned. Burning the silos means starvation. For everyone. Rebels and farmers. The Chancellor's orders, Wei said. Zhou stared at the flame of an oil lamp. We're soldiers. Not butchers. But if you don't follow it. Zhou interrupted. Sometimes it's not the scroll that matters, but the hand that delivers it. He turned. You're not done yet, Li Wei. The Battle of Luoyang. Word spread like fire through the camps. The rebels were coming. 10,000 strong. Zhou Fang's men were half that. But they had a plan, crafted from the very scroll Wei had delivered. Instead of torching the silos, Zhou had them booby-trapped with powder. A false retreat would lure the rebels in. On the third night, as rebel drums echoed through the hills, Wei stood beside Zhou atop the city walls. The first wave hit at dawn. Huang Chao's men swarmed the fields, finding silos unguarded. They thought it a gift. Zhou lit a lantern. It was Wei who launched it over the wall, his arms still weak. The lantern soared, trailing fire. It struck the silo roof. Boom! A thunderclap of fire. The ground shook. A second blast followed. Then a third. Chaos rippled through the rebel lines. Zhou's cavalry charged. The battle lasted hours. Wei was knocked down, trampled, nearly buried beneath rubble. But he rose. Again and again. When the dust cleared, the rebels had fled. Luoyang stood. A new scroll. In the days after the battle, Zhou summoned Wei again. He handed him a scroll, not sealed, but blank. Right, Zhou said. A new order. One the people will believe in. Wei dipped his brush. To all cities loyal to the Emperor, the tide has turned. Let the fires of mercy burn brighter than those of vengeance. Rebuild. Endure. Remember. Wei paused. He added a final line. Written by the hand of one who carried the fire, but refused to be consumed. Epilogue. Years later, long after the Tang had splintered and new kingdoms rose, a battered scroll was found in a temple near the ruins of Luoyang. It bore no royal seal. Just a line of faded ink. No one remembers the ones who run through fire, only the ones who light it. But someone had written beneath it. I remember both.